Mahomes back, throws, it is incomplete, picked off by the Lions. Brian Branch with it left side. He's gone, baby! He's going to the house! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Deflected in the air, Branch ran under it, and he took it all the way back.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Dan was saying that quite a bit on Thursday night.
There was a lot of those.
He was not saying that a whole lot about the Green Bay Packers.
No,
not
he
until
was
the
not.
second half,
No.
especially not in the first half. And it was really, PJ, just a dominant performance. Welcome to the Twentyman and Huddle podcast. I'm Tim Twentyman. He's PJ Clark. Every week after a Lions game, we hop on and we rap about it a little bit. And boy, that was one heck of a performance by the Detroit Lions, beating Green Bay 34-20. They improved to 3-1. They take over first place in the NFC North. And look, after a win like that in front of a national audience, they looked like the cream of the crop in the North.
I think that game is going to be circled for a long time. That is going to be one of those moments that I think everybody nationally, locally, just kind of keeps coming back to throughout the year for the Lions.
And let's start with the defense, because in that first half, I don't know if you can play better defensive football than the Lions did in the first half. I mean, what was it, 22 plays and 21 total yards?
Yeah.
I think they were 1 of 6 on third down, Green Bay. I mean, it was dominant. I think it went field goal, punt, interception, punt, and they
Field
had
goal on a drive that started at 19-yard line. Yeah, like,
because of an interception. I mean, they were unbelievable. And look, you knew Green Bay was going to make a run in the second half, and they did. But that defense, the lead never got within 10. You never felt like that game was slipping away because the defense just stepped up and either, forced downs or made a big turnover. Kudos to Jerry Jacobs, 2 interceptions in the game. They had 5 sacks coming off 7 sacks last week against Atlanta. So it's just, it was a dominant defensive performance, and kudos to Aaron Glenn for the plan that he put together, and kudos for the players to execute that plan. What's that, the 4th straight game now without 100 yards rushing? What did they have rushing in the game? 27 yards? They averaged 2.3. You made them one-dimensional, and again, for a second straight week, and you do that in the NFL. It's easier to play defensive football, and it's easier to win football games.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love, 36 pass attempts, got sacked 5 times with 41 dropbacks. Ritter was 45 last week. If you're making a young quarterback drop back 40 times, you're probably in a good spot.
You love that as a defensive coordinator. You let Aidan Hutchinson and Commish and those guys inside tee up and go after them, and those guys have been great. They've dominated the line of scrimmage the last 2 weeks.
I thought and we saw this a little bit last week, Aaron Glenn kind of reset everything after that Seattle game with just the lack of the pass rush, and no one was getting home. You got the pressures, but nobody was getting home every time. And Geno did a good job of getting the ball out quick. But the last 2 weeks, I think we've seen more stunts from this defensive line than ever.
I mean, you mentioned it during the game, how the stunt game was just playing and working out.
I mean, I think it gets you Hutchinson inside, which is where he's been better this year. Not that he's been bad on tackles, but he's been unbelievable rushing from the inside. And if you have Alim McNeill now stacking 2 games, phenomenal Alim McNeill games in a row, you run those two off each other. I mean, the list of offensive lines that can handle that, there might be none.
And credit to guys like Benito Jones, who got a sack last week, to Isaiah Buggs, who got a sack this week. They're contributing to that as well.
Charles had a sack last week and this week too. I mean, everybody is coming through. It's the bunches. Everything that didn't happen the first 2 weeks has shown up the last 2 weeks.
And they've played terrific, and it's been really a catalyst for their 2 wins over the last 2 weeks. And then you flip over to the other side of the football, and 43 rushes, 211 yards, a 4.9 average.
David Montgomery is a really good player, man.
David Montgomery, after
a really good player,
questionable coming in with a thigh bruise. Now I talked to him this week, and he said he felt pretty good. If it was up to him, he'd play. He was day to day, but he was feeling pretty good. But to come in here after being questionable, after missing last week, and then you be a workhorse like that. 32 carries. He got stronger as the game went on, Peach. Yeah. I mean, he was better at the end than he was at the beginning. And to finish with 121 yards, had those 3 touchdowns. And I think most importantly for him, his first win against the Green Bay Packers in his career.
That was huge. And that's a guy that's been in this division, has played at Lambeau Field before, and knows what this means. And, man, he showed up big time. I mean, 32 carries is no joke in 2023. And you saw, I thought, the left side of the offensive line, in particular, Taylor Decker played phenomenal in the run game.
Shout out to Taylor.
Yeah, and
because he was hurting.
He was hurting, but he wanted this one real bad. Everybody wanted this one real bad. I thought Taylor and Jonah were great. Josh Reynolds threw a couple blocks that opened up holes. I mean, the Lions are one of the better wide receiver blocking teams in the league, and I think you saw.
Look at their wide receiver coach. Antoine Randall L was pretty good when he played.
And I mean, he knows Hines Ward.
Hines Ward
and the best of all time.
Hines Ward wasn't going to let any of his teammates not be blockers.
So that tracks, and you saw that tonight. Josh Reynolds on I think it was the first touchdown, had an unbelievable block in the end zone. Just pushed his man completely out of the hole. Laporta good again. Brock Wright good again. I mean, if the run game is working like this, it's going to be tough to stop with David Montgomery back there.
Because that's where Jared's really at his best, is play action. I think you look at the numbers last year and even how he's began.
He's the best play action quarterback in football.
It was 130, I think, was his passer rating last year in play action passes. Like, that's what his game is predicated on. And he's terrific with the ball fakes and getting out in space and making good decisions and quick decisions. He throws a nice deep ball. And look, he threw an interception early. That's 3 games in a row now. He said after the game, look, I've got to clean that up. Yeah. But look, that's going to happen, right? Those things happen. But then he comes back.
Touchdowns.
And moves the ball. And I thought the way he orchestrated that fourth quarter drive, what was it, 12 plays, 75 yards, took almost 9 minutes.
You had to sit on the ball. It was perfect.
With a 10-point lead. I mean, it was perfect. And he distributed the ball around, 5 catches for St. Brown, 4 for Laporta, 4 for Gibbs. Reynolds had 3 catches for 69 yards.
It's a different stat sheet than it was last week, where you only had 2 wide receivers targeted. I mean, it was definitely, and I mean, can we just 2 minutes on Josh Reynolds, that play down the sideline?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a perfect ball from Jared Goff. Just give him a chance. One-on-one coverage with no safety over the top. Give him a chance. And then Josh Reynolds, man, moving the chains, one hand.
That's a trust throw.
That's 7 years of playing
guy
together.
Played with for 7 years. And the two talk about all the time, the chemistry that they have, the trust Jared has to throw a 50-50 ball, that his guy will come up with it. Look, he has been a terrific addition to this football team. And look, we haven't even seen J-Mo yet. And how teams are going to have to play Detroit a little bit different once Jameson Williams comes back to be doing this without their biggest.
You're getting explosive plays without the explosive play guy.
Yeah.
Seems good.
That's a good way to put that.
Seems good.
Yeah. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
And I'll take 3-1. And
That's the important part. The explosive play is whatever.
First place in the division. Look, you get one on the road, and Jared talked about this after the game. It almost means a little bit more because those are the hard ones to get. Division games are important anyways, but you go on the road and get a division game, it almost feels like you're getting 1.5 or you're getting 2. And now you look at Chicago, you look at Minnesota, they're fighting to avoid 0-4 to start. Green Bay's 2-2. They've got some issues.
You've given yourself some cushion. Early on, which is really important because all these other teams have to play Kansas City now too.
Yeah,
and that's not going to obviously be easy.
No.
The Bears are already lost, so the other two have that one coming up on the schedule too.
Yeah, it's almost like you gain a game there, and then you gain a big one here too. You're putting yourself in a good situation if you're Detroit. Look, you're playing complementary football. We've talked about both sides. Special teams. Riley Patterson still perfect.
Khalif had a couple good returns too.
Good returns. Fox was okay. I thought he had one on the side of his foot a little bit. Maybe not his best day, but
the coverage was great too. The kick. I mean, Keyshawn Nixon is the best kick returner in the league and had nowhere to go.
No, they are playing complementary football. They're dealing with some injuries early on. They've got guys stepping up all over both sides of the ball. Guys are making plays. It looks different. Look, I've been covering this team for a long time now, 15 years, and this just looks and feels different. The way they've stepped up in big moments, the way the offenses look, the way this defense has played to start the year. I don't think a team's rushed for 100 yards yet. Have they?
Nope.
I mean, they've been terrific. And it just seems to all be coming together. Knock on wood, you stay healthy. You've got now a long break. You've got a long weekend. And look, you've got some young quarterbacks now you're facing, the next couple weeks. And so it just seems
we'll see on Bryce, but
it just seems like it's all kind of falling together early on.
Yeah, and I love that you're going back home. Yeah. After this, I think it's really important to have a home game, and the crowd is going to be crazy.
It almost felt like a home game here in the fourth quarter.
It was
kudos
ridiculous.
To Lions. 15,000. It had to have been 15,000 in here.
Yeah, and especially once all the Packer fans cleared out at the end and everybody just started coming down. I mean, that was nuts.
It was like it was bigger than it was last week 18, and it was bigger than Arrowhead. I mean, these fans are traveling. I think you can feel the excitement around this team.
Tampa's a nice trip too. I expect we'll get a pretty decent crowd there.
Yeah, people just want to be around this football team, and kudos for them for giving them something to cheer about.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's always going to be things to nitpick, right? Like the first couple drives coming out of halftime were not ideal offensively, and defensively you let a couple penalties prolong their first drive coming out of halftime to lead to a touchdown, and then you had a little bit of coverage breakdown that lets Christian Watson get wide open, coverage breakdown that lets Jaden Reed get wide open for the 2-point conversion. But you just bounce back. It was resilient when they had to be, and they gave themselves literally a 24-point cushion.
Usually those things happen, and then it snowballs, and then it leads to something else and something else and something else, and then we've seen it time and time again. Then eventually it leads to a loss.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, they had some adversity. You knew Green Bay was going to this game.
This happened last week.
This game wasn't going to be 48.
18 unanswered points last week.
They're too good on that side of the field. They're just defensively. They've got weapons on offense. They were going to make a run. But when they did, you had to counter. You had to do that counter punch, and that's what Detroit did, especially offensively with that 8+ minute drive in the fourth quarter. I thought that won them the game. Look, they stepped up in all three phases, got a big win, and now you get a little bit of break. You get to go back home. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. We will obviously break down everything Carolina next week on 20-minute in the Huddle, and then we'll be back at Ford Field after the game to break down
a good one.
What we hope is another win and get to 4-1 and kind of keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, this is it's a good time to be a Lions fan right now. I mean, that was everybody's feeling really good after that one.
It's fun to cover winning football.
This is great, man. This is great.
This is great. We'll be back with you guys next week.